Now let's get to the reaction to Ben Carson.
I can't wait to see
Take
this.
a look.
Let's talk about Ben Carson. What do you think his qualifications are to be president?
Common sense.
Clearly one of the most intelligent people in the race right now.
He has everything I'm looking for. I think he treats the American people and the other candidates with respect.
He's guided, I think, by a very strong faith.
True to himself.
Deep, thoughtful.
He seems genuine.
But I want to play one little clip right now because this one got a lot of attention.
Do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
How many people agree with what Ben Carson said there? Everybody.
Do you agree with what he said? Disagree?
Yes.
Scott?
Agree.
You agree. Marie, you agree also?
One nation under God.
Who else agrees with what Dr. Carson said?
Spot on.
Spot on.
How many people in the room can imagine Ben Carson as president of the United States?
How many of you can imagine Ben Carson not only becoming the Republican nominee, but becoming president? Raise your hand. Okay.
What would a Ben Carson administration be like?
He would be going into negotiations or meetings with things well thought out, and whatever cabinet he does put together would probably be some of the top minds around as well.
I think it would restore some dignity to the White House. I think he'd bring back the stature of the United States on the world stage.
I think it would bring a lot of peace to the country.
He doesn't have the experience, but I think that can be refreshing.
I really think that he could create a much more peaceful world.
His strength is that he's so thoughtful. But again, then his weakness would be that he can't make those quick, hard decisions fast enough.
I think it'd be very much like having Mr. Rogers in the White House.
The message he's bringing is everything I'm looking for. I'm just afraid that Washington will swallow him up.
Yes.
Well, we've got a lot to learn.
We didn't cherry pick just the positive stuff. Iowa, New Hampshire, undecided Republicans, you saw there, the gap between what they say about Ben Carson and what people in New York and Washington think is massive. The fact that they, in the Iowa group, everyone in the Iowa group liked what he said on Meet the Press to Chuck about a Muslim being president, and 7 of the 11 people in New Hampshire thought of as a more secular state. We've talked a lot here about not understanding Ben Carson's appeal. I understand it after those 2 focus groups better than I ever had.
What's the appeal?
What they said. They like his manner.
Okay, people could like my manner. They don't want me operating on their brain.
They think that he is an outsider,
does nobody,
a smart,
do
decent outsider who will change the country.
That you speak to, and they look like great, solid, wonderful people. Do they think that, did you ask them if they thought he could actually run this country on the power of a mellow personality, that he's a mellow dude? Because that's what he's got. He's a mellow dude and he's a Christian. Yeah. You know, I went to Sunday school every Sunday for 18 years with people who were mellow dudes. They were not capable of running the United States.
We'll have a longer version of it tonight on With All Due Respect, and you can see in more depth. They do express some questions about that. But just like with Trump, where they're willing to accept his warts, they believe that his manner, his intelligence, his decency, and his faith will allow him to govern the country. I mean, you saw that. We asked him, could he be president? Almost all of them instantly can see him as being president, and they don't want to know more about his policies, and they have no doubt that he's ready to be president today.
So this is where I think, whether it's willful or subconscious, I feel like we've had a blind spot. We haven't had it about Donald Trump. We had a gut because we know him and we sort of know his talents.
And he's a New Yorker.
And he's a New Yorker.
You're exactly right what you're saying.
We have had a complete blind spot about Ben Carson and about, because it's not, yes, of course, we all have opinions. This is your opinion. But that is where people are.
It fills in the blind spot.
I still have a blind spot about Ben Carson. I have seen guys and women running for city council in Pensacola, Florida, who were good people who got in there, and because they didn't know how to govern, they had no experience, they didn't know how to negotiate, they didn't know how to do deals, they didn't know how to work with other people, they didn't know how to handle constituent services, that on a local level in Pensacola, Florida, they were a disaster. I have seen people on school boards that were good Christian people that got elected because they were good Christian people. They went on school boards and ended up with grand juries coming after them, not because they were bad people, but because they were so over their heads on the Escambia County School Board. And people are looking at this guy saying he's a good, decent Christian guy, and they are ready for him to be president of the United States. I am sorry. I'm going to stop right here. And I'm not going to get on this train where I say I understand why people would vote for Ben Carson as president of the United States. And I can tell you, we're going down a dangerous path as a party and a dangerous path as a country if we Republicans or Democrats start electing people because they're nice Christian folk. And these are the same things I said when Barack Obama was being marketed like a can of soda pop. I said it in real time that it was going to be disastrous on the foreign policy stage, and Republicans agreed with me then. Now we've got a bunch of kids running for president that have been in the Senate for 2 or 3 years. We've got doctors that have absolutely no experience, that intelligent voters are saying, we'll vote for him. Well,
isn't it an indictment, though, that they don't think that anything is happening in Washington that requires more experience?
Yes.
It's not about him.
We've given that position to Donald Trump, and we keep forgetting to.
Don't gloss over.
Look at this Q poll. Look at this Q poll.
Don't gloss over, though, their agreement with him on whether a Muslim should be president.
Yeah.
That statement was denounced by people in the media and in a lot of Republican circles. Yeah. And there you have 11 out of 11 Iowa Republicans undecided look at that statement and say, yeah, I agree. And 7 out of 11 in New Hampshire agreed. They liked what he said.
All right.
I was kind of curious if the guy who was upset about Trump's Mexican comment was also fine with the Muslim comment. I'm not sure if you know if that was the same guy.
Yeah, okay. 11 out of 11. He was one of them.
That's interesting. But to your point about
so Mexicans are it's okay to discriminate against Muslims, but not Mexicans.
Again,
right. Okay, hold on. Can I write that down? Because I'm going to create a chart. I'm going to create a chart here. So we can discriminate against Muslims, and the Constitution doesn't apply to Muslims. But we have to be polite to Mexicans. Hold on one second.
I
figured it out.
Well, as for Carson's appeal, let me just say quickly. I noticed the same thing in CPAC, and I started talking to these people who were very attached to his candidacy, and there's almost a religious aspect of what they see in him. And it's not just that he's mellow and smart, but it's his biography. I mean, they think that here's a guy who came from inner city Detroit, kind of pulled himself up, ended up at Yale, became the foremost neurosurgeon. He made it in a way that no one else could comprehend, and they think that is applicable in some respects to the White House.
It's crazy, and I just want to say right here, that right here. Okay, I know there are a couple of idiots that are going to say, oh, Manhattan elites and Joe Scarborough. No, all of these people, I know them. They all voted for me. And quite frankly, if I ran again, they'd vote for me again, despite what I'm saying right now about Ben Carson. I'm not being an elitist when I say Ben Carson is not qualified to be president of the United States. I don't get why they aren't working harder to find somebody that can actually get us out of the mess. I say this as a Republican that Barack Obama has put us in, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's with Iran, whether it's with Obamacare, whether it's with the debt. I can go down the list. I agree with all those people on policy. I'm not here going, I wish Nelson Rockefeller was still alive because that's when we were a GD party. I'm not that guy. I think McCain was too moderate. I think Romney was too moderate. I want a conservative's conservative, but I want a conservative who can win. And so I want to clarify that.
No, yeah.
This is not about me not getting my party. I don't want it to be a moderate party. I don't want it to be a Rockefeller. I want a rock-ribbed conservative that can kick ass and not only win elections, but can take this country back. And a mellow dude who happened to know how to get conjoined twins like apart.
Which is wildly impressive. I mean, I agree with you. People are very impressed. I mean, there are not a lot of surges.
Great.
No, but listen, I think that what happened when you got to the establishment pack? Disdain?
Well, we could go to that if you
All right,
want.
I wanna-
because
Josh?
I think this is one of the most startling things in the whole focus group.
Josh Green, are you surprised by the reaction to Carson?
No, I'm really not. I mean, I think the hidden source, getting back to his Muslim answer, I really do think the hidden source of his appeal is that he expresses a lot of opinions shared by Trump supporters, but he comes with a more polite affect. He's a nicer man. If you're a true believing Christian, you know, he doesn't have that same kind of personal affront, I think, that Trump has with people. So it makes a whole lot of sense to me that voters in this focus group, people in Iowa, who support these positions would think that way and support a candidate like Carson. And to Joe's point, you know, they're not looking for, you know, a winner, a guy who can beat the system. They're looking for somebody who's pure and untainted by Washington politics.